All right, well, we can get started. Thanks everyone for coming. My name is Taylor Stein. I'm a product evangelist here at Autodesk, and I'm glad you all can make it out. This is the second installment of our Future of Hardware meetup. As some of you might know, it used to be a Fusion 360 specific meetup, and now we've sort of up-leveled it a bit to the future of hardware. And what we're talking about today is what we refer to as the side hustle, really just how easy it is today to start a hardware business on the side. The premise for this is really that you don't necessarily have to quit your day job to start dipping your toes into the world of hardware. And this has really changed based on a lot of trends that have changed in the last maybe 5 to 10 years. And we have a great lineup of guest speakers that are going to talk about what they do as a hardware business on the side, whether that's past, present, or any future plans. So for the agenda, we're running a little bit late, but we're going to get through all of it. As I said, we have these 3 great guest speakers here. They're going to come up and tell us their story, sort of how they got to where they are today. And then we're going to have a little Q&A session. We're going to have time for questions for each speaker after they go, and then we're going to have all 3 of them up here for questions that you guys might have for them as a whole that you want to hear maybe various answers to. And then after that, we're going to wrap up, give you guys time to chat with each other, chat with the speakers, and then by 9 o'clock, we're going to be closing the doors. Does that sound good to everyone? Yeah, cool. So to kick it off, I just wanted to start by running through sort of what inspired this event. It really came out of a lot of conversations I was having with my friends about sort of the state of hardware today. So you might hear a lot that hardware is hard. And while this is true, I think there's never been a better time to get started than today. And like I said, this is due to, I think, a few industries that have changed drastically over the last 10 years. These were just some of the ones that came to mind for me. And I think to really drive home what's changed, we first need to look at what the state might have been of these maybe 10 years ago. So we're going to look at all of these in the world of 2007, just to sort of see how far we've come in the last 10 years. And then hopefully we can see how really great it is right now. So first up, software. And these are all under the lens of someone who's looking to get involved with hardware, whether they're bringing a product to life as a sort of side project or getting involved in hardware as a whole. So software, if we look at 2007, there was full parametric CAD as there is today in 2007. This is Autodesk Inventor. But often this was very expensive, so it might have been somewhere like $8,000 for a license of this software. It had to run on a very expensive desktop PC. There was no running this on your MacBook. And you really had to be trained professionally on how to use this software. So it was very intimidating to get involved with. Also, 2007, some of you might know, was when the iPhone was first announced. So this sort of sets the stage for 2007. Doesn't sound like a long time ago, but everything that we take for granted today with all the information in our pocket, the iPhone was really just announced only 10 years ago. As far as education goes, related to hardware, this was often something you had to decide from maybe when you left high school that this is what you wanted to do as a profession. You went to school for engineering because you knew this was what you wanted to do. Maybe if you went to school for communications, you didn't have the same opportunity to start getting involved in hardware or really making. Today, I often think about YouTube as a place to learn, and this is YouTube in 2007. Even the tagline there for YouTube, broadcast yourself, sort of illustrates that even YouTube has changed a lot over the last 10 years, where now it's a place where you can go and get information on anything. And back then it was really for sharing funny videos and just a website to post your own personal videos. If we look at manufacturing equipment, this is some things that I dug up. This over here is the Z-Core printer on the left there. Was selling for $20,000 at the time, and really we had industrial 3D printers. There weren't really many desktop 3D printers at all. 2007 was when the RepRap research began. You can see over here, that is the first printer on the left that printed 50% of its own parts on the right as the child printer. And 2007 was also right around the time when TechShop first opened up its very first makerspace. So we sort of take for granted, most people here probably, makerspaces, but this was just starting to become a thing 10 years ago. If we look at services, there were prototyping services, often really difficult if you had low volume. And these prototyping services, you can't just tell them what you want. You have to actually provide them a CAD file. And what we really see here is that all of these sort of compound on top of each other. In order to work with a prototyping service, you need to have some CAD files. In order to have CAD files, you have to have proper training and expensive software. So all of these factors really add up and really are prohibitive from you getting involved in hardware. And you really, if you couldn't make the files yourself, you'd have to hire a freelance designer. So now we're talking some serious money to just even explored your curiosity about hardware. Next, we can fly through these. Social media really was just starting in 2007. Here's Facebook on the left with just a tiny little news feed there. On the right there is not even the mobile app, that's just the mobile version of Facebook, which was released in 2007. And that is Twitter down over there. So no one was promoting their hardware business on Twitter in 2007. Just to give you a scale, 2007 Twitter was seeing around 60,000 tweets per day compared to now where it's 500 million tweets per day. And then next for funding, maybe you somehow have jumped through all of these other 5 hoops and you now somehow have made some piece of hardware and you want to sell it or make money from it. You can maybe take it to something like a maker fair if it's just a small side project and you somehow did all of this. You could go to trade shows, you could try selling on eBay, but these are all very difficult and costly ways to try to have a hardware business. And really, if we take a look at all of these as a whole, it leads to something that's really intimidating. Just looking at all of the hoops you'd have to jump through, incredibly difficult, it's very time intensive, and it's very high risk. This isn't something that you could just try out on a weekend to see if you like it. So enough of that. What is the state today? And I think this isn't going to be news to anyone here, but it sort of helps to look around and realize how great a lot of this is. So on the software side of things, we have plenty of tools that are professional that are even free for folks that are hobbyists or startups. This is Autodesk Fusion 360, the product that I work on, and it's completely free for hobbyists and students and anyone with a startup. So there's professional CAD now out there that's completely free. You have other online tools that are free. Just everything out that you could ever imagine is just readily available for you. On education, I can go to YouTube and I can learn everything I want to know about G-code in one YouTube video. I can take Coursera courses for free on digital manufacturing. I can learn Fusion 360 on Pluralsight for free. It's just everything here, as opposed to compounding and getting more difficult, almost sets itself up to become easier and easier as we go down the level. If we look at equipment, makerspaces are now around in just about every major US city, I'd say. Some of them, with prices of maybe $50 a month, and some of them are even free if you offer to teach your own class at these makerspaces. If you don't want to go to a makerspace, you can set up your own makerspace in your garage with cheap equipment. You can get a $300 3D printer that prints at 0.1 millimeter resolution. You can buy a desktop CNC for $1,500, or you can even buy your own laser for $3,000. If maybe you live in an apartment and you don't have space for this equipment, you can work with manufacturing services. So here are a few different services. The ones at the top are services where they don't necessarily own any of the equipment, but they can pair you up with folks that do. So for more simple, basic prototyping, you might use something like 3D Hubs, where it pairs you up with folks that have 3D printers that are collecting dust, and they can print things for you for cheap. If you're looking for a more professional solution, there's Fictive, where they can print from more industrial machines, even have CNC'd parts, and a quick turnaround, and gets it to you in a matter of days, and they'll handle all of the logistics. You just tell them what you want, and they'll get it right back to you. You can also have other services that own their own machines, like Pinocchio, who owns laser cutters to laser cut from over 90 materials. Shapeways will 3D print in just about any material you want, like plastic or ceramic. So there's all sorts of services around. As far as promoting any sort of brand or your store, we all are familiar with social media. A lot of folks now do everything through platforms like Instagram. Recently talking to a customer, I asked, what is your company's website? And they just sent me to their Instagram page. So times are definitely changing on social media. And then lastly, for funding, how do you make money off of what it is you're doing? There's tools like Kickstarter to fund an idea that a company may not have otherwise given you the money to go try out. There's platforms like Etsy, which we'll hear about, which allow you to run a store from home and sort of sell at the volume that you like. If you want to run your own online store, there's tools like Squarespace and Wix to create your own website. And you can even upload your own 3D models to Shapeways and earn an income when people make the part that you design. So really all of these things that you needed that were often done by a professional before, there's now services made directly for those, and you can do them at just a push of a button. So in summary, all of these lead to, I think, dipping your toes into hardware is now really approachable. It's very simplified. You can do it completely at your own pace, and it's very low risk. There's no reason why anyone after this tonight can't go download free software, start playing around with it, join a makerspace, have some service online, make some parts for them, and it's just really an incredible time, I'd say.